All right, folks, this is a continuation of step one, creating hatching Dilophosauruses or Dilophosauri. I'm not really sure which one it is, but I have my little fans. And remember, this is kind of the part of the animal that makes the Dilophosaurus what it is. So these little fans on the edge that I'm creating, they are really important, and I'm going to be spending a chunk of time on them. I want to make sure that it fits his head well and that they're even. So I'm constantly checking and looking at my animals straight on, and I'm going to be using this tool. You'll see I'm creating little divots, so small details like that can make a huge difference in making them look as realistic as possible, because you want your animal to look like your animal. And it's always good to check how it looks before you slip and score it on. When it's something like this, that's going to be a little more challenging to work with once it is attached. And I'm just pressing into my clay to get that little edge. As a reminder, the tool I'm using is a plastic modeling tool. It's looking pretty good. I'm gonna look at that straight on, see if it fits okay. All right. It does cover up my claws a little bit, but that's okay. This is going to be the most important aspect of my animal, so it's okay if they take up a chunk of space. I'm going to score that on to my baby Dilophosaurus. Make sure you're using slip and scoring both sides, gently pressing it in, and then the other. As a reminder, marking where you're going to be adding something is always a good plan. I'm going to use that tool to clean up any excess slip I have and blend any areas in that aren't quite attached. So if you have some areas that aren't super well attached, you can always create a little tiny coil, and that's just a rolled out ball of clay. But if you're happy with it, you can move on, and I'm going to work on some eyes. Now when I work on my eyes are very important. We want our animal to look as realistic as possible. Just give me a second, I want to clean this up here. I want to keep that ridge in my spine that I made earlier. But when I'm working on my eyes, first thing I did, or earlier, I created eye sockets. And if I want to press in a little bit further on those eye sockets, remember your mouth should be nice and even, and looking at your animal when you're creating the mouth helps with that. You want to look straight on when you do the mouth, and you want to look straight on when you do the eyes, because you don't want one eye to be too high, because that would look really weird. So I'm looking straight on and making little divots and marks where my eyes go. So those should go in the eye sockets. Okay. And then I'm making teeny tiny balls of clay. And then I gotta add a little bit of slip. And I'll put those teeny tiny balls of clay on the divots I just created. Now, even if you created really tiny eyeballs, these are gonna look giant once you add them on. This is gonna look really funny. But I'm not done yet, so it's gonna be okay. Once I add those on, I wanna blend out the top a little bit, just the top. Make sure they're stuck on really well. I'm gonna blend a little bit on the top because I want my animal to look fierce. It's a baby Dilophosaurus, it's a dinosaur, it's gotta be tough. So I'm gonna blend out a little bit of the top of the eye and I'm going to create an eyebrow ridge for him. Or her. It could be a girl. Who knows? This is going to be done very gently. You're not pressing very hard at all. Fingertips, very gentle, or if you're using a tool, very gentle. It's already looking a little bit more normal. Once you have that little piece blended out on top, you need to create an eyebrow ridge. So this is essentially the eye socket bone. So you're creating that brow, and this is what's going to make him or her look really fierce. And this little teeny coil needs to be quite small and quite thin. So you're rolling it out, and you want them to be the same size or very close to the same size. There we go. Just like with anything, a little bit of slip, a little bit of scoring, and we're going to add these on top of our eye we just added. My hand's getting a little dirty. And similar to when we added the eye, this is going to look odd to start off, but once we blend it, it'll look normal, and this is going to look sweet. Okay, so this is your eyebrow ridge. Look at that. She's already looking tough. We're going to only blend out the top. You want to leave the bottom part alone. You're only blending out that top part. Very gentle. So you kind of push it into the area you want it to be. You can use a tool for this, or you can use your fingertips. It's up to you. There's a little big. A little too big. Had to trim off a little bit of clay. And just smoothing that back. Once again, only the top. If you smooth the bottom, it defeats the whole purpose. And you don't have that fierce little scowl that it kind of looks like. Oh, nice. That looks so cool. You can do this on any animal. If you want a fierce looking animal, it's an easy way to do it. Just create that eyebrow ridge. Nice, cool. She's getting some personality. It's awesome. From here, I have most of my key elements that I really need. But it's good to think about textures, and it's good to think about smoothing out things. So if you want your areas to be smooth, great. If you want your areas to be textured, that's good too, but you have to make a decision and work on that. Kind of like I have my divots for my stripes in the back. I'm going to add a little bit of texture to my baby Dilophosaurus because I don't think I want it to just be perfectly smooth. My egg is perfectly smooth, so I want a little difference from my egg to my Dilophosaurus. So I'm going to grab a needle tool. You can also use a pencil, a mechanical pencil, a regular pencil, and I'm just going to poke a bunch of holes, just little bitty holes, and I'm going to do this everywhere except on the stripes that I created and maybe a little bit on the fan, in certain spots on the fan. Of course, I'll leave the eyes alone, and I might create kind of a stripe down the center of her face, or his face, my baby Dilophosaurus. But this is just going to give the glaze, when I glaze it later, some places to catch and a little different values, which is good. Some different textures. Gives it some personality. Now if you wanted to jump the video ahead, you definitely can, because I'll be poking holes here for a little bit. It's really up to you if you want to keep watching or jump to the next steps. At the end of the video, I do have a few other examples of baby Dilophosauruses because I made a few. All the knowledge that you accumulated watching these videos, you can apply and make different designs. You can have your animal coming out in different parts of the shell. And a couple of mine, I had a little tail sticking out. You can definitely do things like that. It gives your animal some personality. You can't forget about the back here. It gives your animal some personality and some uniqueness to your design, which is always the goal. You always want to add personal touches to what you create. I hope this video was helpful for you and that you are successful in your creations. Thanks for watching. I'm pretty much done. Looking good. And there are my other examples.